Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my channel and thank you very much for clicking on this video. My name is Becky Sechere. I'm a UK registered nurse. I originally came from Ghana and I've been working here for a while, and I give tips and advice to overseas nurses who are planning to relocate to the UK and also those who are already working here, not only overseas nurses but newly qualified nurses who may have some questions. So I try my best to give you some tips and advice. Also, care assistants or senior carers or anyone, actually I have had contact from teachers or lecturers or anyone who I would say is new to UK for a little bit of advice. Those that I know I would give, those that I have no answers to I would signpost you. Anyway, if this is the first time you're watching my video, please remember to like, subscribe and share. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 20 tips from my experience in living in UK for the past 20 years. So exactly the 3rd of February 2003 was when I came to the UK. So yesterday I became 20 years old in the UK. So if you want to know more about the tips I have for you, why not watch the video to the end and you hear more about it. So see you in the video. Hi, you're welcome back to the video. So I like to be very organized, so I've made my list, and as we age, some of us require to wear glasses. That's why I like to wear my glasses when I have to look away on my points. Anyway, so as I said in the introduction, I'm going to be sharing my 20 years tips and lessons that I have learned living in the UK for the past 20 years with you. Some might be helpful to you, some might not be helpful. Anyway, so on the 3rd of February 2003, I was on one of the British Airways flights from Kotoka International Airport in Ghana to Heathrow Airport in the UK. So I originally trained in Ghana, so I qualified as a nurse in 2000. So I've been working as a nurse for 23 years. So when I got to UK, I think I was about 31 years old. So you can guess how old I am now. So here I am. So I've been here, and I started, although in Ghana when I started, or when I was working in Ghana, because I was a graduate from University of Ghana, I was a senior nurse in the hospital I was working at in Tema called Nabita Hospital. And so when I moved over, you're not going to be a senior nurse straight away. So those of you who follow my videos, you would have seen me talk about my experience. Currently, when you arrive as a nurse, you start as band 4, and when you finish your OSCE, then you move up to band 5, which is the starting point of a newly registered nurse or newly qualified nurse in the UK. At the time I came 20 years ago, we started as B grade. So those days we have B, and I think they had C, and then they had D grades anyway, but we were B grades, like care assistant sort of level. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with my experience a little bit. So being a B grade, and then I registered, or I completed my NMC registration after my adaptation about 4 to 5 months, and I registered as a nurse sometime. I got my registration in December 2003 as a D grade, and then later on all these grades changed to band 5, band 6, 7 and 8. So at that time, I'll tell you the fact, there were nobody there to motivate me, so I was just working as a D grade, or became band 5, which is now the same. And then I told myself, you know what, I'm not going to stay the same band. I need to move up. I need to get to a senior position. So I moved from one place to the other, sometimes at the same banding, and then Another time I thought, you know what? I need to go for band 6. And I went for band 6 and I carried on. So over the 20 years, I managed to get myself to band 7, which is not too bad, which is like a ward sister, but I am a specialist nurse and I've worked as a specialist nurse since 2009 until now, although part of the 2000 and part of the period I have done different things. I've been a sickle cell specialist nurse. I became epilepsy specialist nurse. I went back to become the lead nurse for sickle cell team here. And then I left. Now I am a headache specialist nurse. So I've been all over. So I would say I've got a bit of experience and I'm able to advise if you need any tips, and that's why I do this video. So now let's come back to the main points that I have for you regarding what I have learned. So when I came, I met a few people, and everybody, when you're coming to work overseas, you have your own plan. So some people plan that, you know what, I would work for a couple of years, save some money, go back home and do my own business. Everybody and what they want. Others, I remember some of the friends who say, oh, Vision 2020, by 2020 they are going back. Unfortunately, they are still here. They haven't gone back yet. But you have to strategize. You have to plan what you want for yourself. Do you want to come and stay here until you retire and move back home? Because when you grow old here and unfortunately you're unwell, care home, it is difficult, and when you're home, it's much better. Care is better back home with family looking after you. Anyway, let's carry on with the point. So where the first thing on my list when you're relocating, so my lessons, when you're relocating for the first time, my advice to you is it's always better to come on your own. Give yourself 6 months or at least 1 year before you invite your family over. It works okay in 2 ways. I came on my own first before family joining me. Others, if you have the means and you have the money that you come, you can afford 2-bedroom for yourself and your family, or 3-bedroom for yourself or your family. Why not? You can come together, but it's easier if you haven't got enough money to start life with. It's better to come on your own, where you can live in a shared accommodation and you'll be able to save a little bit. You'll be able to explore the area, find good schools where you want to live before you bring your family over. That is my personal tips. It's up to you to decide on what you want for yourself. The next one on my list, which is the second lesson I have learned, is that you need to bring some decent amount of money that would, you know, you can manage on for the first 4 to 6 weeks before you are paid. You're normally paid monthly, but you don't know how things will start. And if you're looking for accommodation, most often they want deposits, and deposit is more or less like 6 weeks of the rent. So you have to bring some decent amount of money. You might get here, you need a jacket, you need this and that, and you'll be spending some money. So bring some decent money with you. The third point, or that I have learned, is as well, you have to research about the weather before you're coming. So I had no idea. I was so, naive when I was coming. It was in winter. February is usually winter, and at that time it was extremely cold, and my lips, my nose, everywhere was freezing at the time. Anyway, I got adjusted to it. I'm still not used to the weather, but you know what? That is one of the things. Research. What time am I coming? What sort of clothing should I bring along in order to be able to, not get that shock? You'll be able to buy things when you get here, but it's important to research and see what time of the year you are coming to the UK. Go on Google and see what is the weather like when you're coming. It won't stop you from coming, but it just helps you to, prepare appropriately. The fourth point or lesson on my list is ensure that you have basic computer skills before you come to the UK. Especially if you're coming to be working as a nurse, even care assistants as well, because now everything is technology at work. Even when you're doing drug rounds in the hospitals, they use a system, medication, there's a sort of system they use. Patients' prescriptions are all on the laptop or on iPads and things like that, and you use them to, you know, administer medication. So you need to have a little bit of computer knowledge, and handovers and all that are done electronically these days. You have to, you know, write your note or input data for your handover sheet on computer. So you need some computer skills. I remember those days when I was coming, I had I didn't have a lot of computer skills, and I remember I had to go to internet cafe to learn a few things, how to compose emails and things like that. That was horrible. Although I went to university, you'll be wondering, because those days to submit our assignments and our dissertation, we had some of us were using secretaries of the lecturers. You go and pay them and they type your work for you. You write them and they would type for you anyway. So when I was coming, I thought, okay, I need to know how to do certain things. So you need basic computer skills, especially those of you who are not young and you're a bit older before you're traveling is important. The next lesson I have learned and I want to share with you is to familiarize yourself when you arrive in the UK. Familiarize yourself with the city you're going to be staying in and how to get to work. So use Google. Google Map will help you. How do you navigate? Do you use buses? And if you're going to be using a bus from home to work, what is the number on the bus you need? And you have to find out which side of the road you have to stand, because in the UK, when you're going out to town or somewhere else, you have to stand on a different side of the road, and if you're going the other direction, you have to stand at the bus stop on the other side of the road. If you are not careful, you'll be going back and forth to the same place. So just familiarize yourself with the shops, and you know, most of the cities do have African shops. If you're an African, if you're from India, if you're from Philippines or wherever, there are a lot of shops these days that cater for the needs of foreigners. So familiarize yourself, go to church, find a church, use Google and find a church. So that's very important. Number 6 on the lessons I have learned over the 20 years I'm sharing with you is getting to work on time. Timekeeping is very important in the UK. You don't get to work late, so keep that in mind. It's better to get to work maybe about 5 minutes, oh, not 5 minutes, 10-15 minutes before the shift starts is quite good. One thing I say as well is, timekeeping is very, very important. Number 7 on my list is, if you don't know something at the workplace or wherever, please ask. If you don't understand, because sometimes they have accent at certain parts of the UK, and sometimes they speak a bit fast, and if you don't understand what is being said, please ask and them to repeat it. I would rather feel stupid by asking rather than presuming something and you go and get something wrong. If you're not competent in doing something, say, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this, can you show me? It's much better to do that than to go and make a mistake. Number 8, never tell a lie at the workplace or wherever you're working in the UK or wherever you are, because you will lose the trust. British people, one thing I have learned is that trustworthiness is very important. If you ever lie, it would take them 100 years, even they might not even forget that. So it pays to be truthful and trustworthy. It will help you in your day-to-day life in the UK. Number 9 on the list is familiarize yourself with the policies, guidelines and procedures in your workplace, and make sure you're on top of it. I always say to people, you need to make sure you know your trust guidelines, you know your trust values wherever you're working. Make sure you familiarize yourself and go according to them. And make sure you work hard. That's number 10. Not overwork yourself, but work hard. Number 11 on my list is aspire for professional development. Do not stay at one place as a nurse or a care assistant or carer. So I like to encourage people to pursue professional development, because the higher you go on the banding, the more money you would get. The lower you are, you'll be at the same place. If you're not seeing professional development at the department that you are working at, find it somewhere and move to it. If you're a carer or care assistant, aspire to do nurse associate course if you can find one, if you can get sponsorship from your employer. If you can't get that, then explore other ways. Nurse apprenticeships. Can you afford going to become a nurse and go for nursing training? Find a way of moving forward. Do not stay at one place. It's very important, because you become very frustrated. You get all the experience and you see the young ones finishing university, coming and starting work as nurses. And before you know it, they've become band 6. The next moment they are band 7. The next moment they are matrons, they are walking about, and you're still band 5. I think it's important for you to focus on your career and aspire to progress in your role as a nurse or care assistant or whatever you're doing. It's very close to my heart. As I said in the beginning, I didn't have any motivation from anybody, but I told myself, I've come to this country. I'm not going to be staying where I am. I was a senior before coming. Why should I stay as a junior forever? I need to aspire. I need to work hard. I need to move forward. And that is what I have done. So you can also do that. The 12th point or lessons I have learned is not everyone will like you at the workplace. So I remember when I was working in one of the places, there was this lady, oh my goodness, one of my friends, we used to call her, she's just like a witch, I'm sorry to say. Anything you do, she'll find something not right with it. You're doing your best, but you know what? There are people who are like that, not only to you as a foreigner, they do it to their own people sometimes, but sometimes there are some people who just would not like you at the workplace. I remember those days as well. You go to work, you're sitting in a staff room, people come and meet you, they won't even say hello to you. Whereas you're going to be working with them the whole day. And whereas back home, our cultures, once again, very different. You go to work, hello, good morning, sister, this or that. But unfortunately, it's not like that. So most people are nice, but occasionally you might find someone that would not, and you just do your work. Also, one thing I've also always talked about is the fact that the way back home, when matron comes, you're standing up for matron, or the way you call this person sister this, sister that. No, it's not like that. You just call their first names. That is how they want to be called. So you do the same. Anyway, let's move on to point number 13, which is what I have learned and I'm sharing with you. Always keep an open mind. All right, always keep an open mind. Do not join gossip groups at the workplace. Just keep an open mind and learn, and you would be fine. Number 14, plan on how to arrange for childcare. So if you're coming, I think this should actually be one of the first two. If you're coming, it's important. Childcare, I did a video last week, I think, about childcare, the challenges. You can watch that. It's very challenging. It is very difficult. It is very expensive. So if one of you would not be working and be looking after the child, that is better. But if both of you are going to be working, then most often it's important to work around each other so you can do your own childcare yourselves. But if you cannot do that, then the option is there. So look out for that other video I did, which was about the challenges of, raising children in the UK. That you find a lot of information there. The 15th point, lessons I have learned over my 20 years in the UK would be make sure you do some extra shifts and make some extra money, either via agency work or via bank shift in the same hospital you're working at. So when I came at the beginning, I was on my own, so I did a few I didn't do agency, but I worked with some care homes. Although I was working in a hospital, I did some extra shifts in some care homes. I did 1 or 2 agencies actually as well, not a lot, to help you, save some money. So it's very important. Number 16, lessons I have learned and I want to share with you. Lesson or tips for you would be aspire to save money every month. Do not just work and you're not saving and you're spending and enjoying yourself. No, aspire to save some money. Make sure every month, even if it is £50 you want to put aside, you need to do that. Go to your bank. You can open an ISA account. So one of the ISAs is like money you can't touch. There are other ISAs where when you are struggling, you can touch a little bit of it. So see what you want. Make sure every month, if you can't do £50 or £100, even if it is £20 or £25 every month, it's taken out of your account. It's a good thing to do. And please live within your means as well. In the UK, when you have a good credit rating or score, you will be offered a lot of things like credit cards, you would have store cards, you would have anything. And if you're not careful, you find yourself in debt. So be very, very careful. Save money, and importantly, do not forget your mom or your dad, your aunties, or whoever looked after you back home. Please do not forget them. Every month or every other month, if you can send them something little, I'm sure they would appreciate it. Okay, the 17th point or lessons I've learned or tips I have for you is aspire to get yourself on the UK property ladder, which means save as much as possible money you can and buy your own house. Buying a house in the UK doesn't mean you're going to put all the money down and get the house. No, it means you go for a mortgage. So you have to raise the percentage. Now, I think you need about 10% deposit. I was fortunate the time I came in 2000, and so within 2 years, I decided, we need to go for our own house. So at the time, it was 3% deposit. So it was easy to raise 3% deposit or to save money to get 3% deposit. And so we had the house and we lived there for about 8 years. And then later on, we wanted a bigger place. So we were able to sell the other one. And then whatever we got back, the proceeds from that house, we paid off the rest back to the bank. And whatever we have been paying as mortgage, as well as a little interest or a little profit that we made, we used to put down as deposit for the new house, and then we moved into. So within 2 years, I was here 2003. By 2005, I was able to raise some money for us to put down as a deposit for a property. It is very beneficial to be able to have your own house. You're not paying rent to somebody, because if you are not able to do that, every month that rent you're paying is paying for somebody else's mortgage. But if you're able to raise it and you're living in your own house, that mortgage you're paying every month, one day if you decide to sell the house, it comes back to you in a way. Because renting, it can be stressful. So aspire, save money as much as you can, and then get a property. Some people arrive in the UK and they think, oh, I actually want to build back home. It depends. If you're going to be going back within the next 5 or 10 years, fine. But if you're not sure, it's better to get the house here. And whilst you're paying, when you're about to leave, you sell it, you get enough money to take with you to go and build or to buy a house. So that is my advice. It's up to you as to what you want. Number 18 on my list is to be prepared to share bills with your spouse. Unless, of course, one of you has got a very good job, is a doctor, or, have a very well-paying job, then you can pay everything and carry on as it's done back home. But majority of us, you have to share bills, either 50-50 with the rent and everything in the household. So you have to be prepared to do that yourself and your spouse. So bills, because when we get our salaries, the bills are the things that take a lot of the money. I did another video a while ago about what sort of bills that are paid in the UK. So the first on the list, which is the highest, is our rent or mortgage, whichever you have. And when you finish paying that, you have your electricity, you have your gas, you have your phone, and then you have internet in the house, like broadband or the phone line that you're using for your cable TV, if you have Sky TV and all those things. So you can imagine, and if you have a car, you're paying your insurance, you're paying your road tax, you're paying whatever else, you're buying petrol. If you have a phone, you're paying for your contract phone, or if it's pay as you go. So it's the bills are just here. You get the money one moment and all is gone back to the system. So be prepared for the bills as well. How you calculate your salary, both of you, and you see how you would manage them. Number 19, I'm getting there. So living in the UK over the past 20 years. So I've got 20 points. I'm almost there. So the 19th point is make time for yourself, make time for your children, make time for your family. Make sure you look after your physical health as well as your mental health. Physical health, sometimes people are just busy working. They even have diabetes, they are not aware. They have blood pressure, they are not aware. So it's easy to buy all those machines and test yourself. So it's important to look after yourself. Mental health is very important as well. I've always said in most of my videos, I've never known about the word stress, like being used very frequently back home in Ghana before I came. Yes, I was very young. As I said, I was 31 years old when I moved to the UK. I didn't know much about stress at all when I was in Ghana. Actually as well, when I came at the beginning, I was not all that, but as you start growing and as you start living in the system for a long period, you start realizing, okay, if you're not very careful, certain things happen both at work and everywhere, and the stress is just... So you have to look after yourself. Take holidays with your family as well. So that's very important. Stress, you have to work on it. Manage stress. If you're having issues, find a way of sorting it out. It could be from home, it could be from work. So please make time for yourself. Don't just work 24/7 or 7 days a week and not make time for yourself. Make time for yourself. Pamper yourself occasionally, as well as remember to keep saving some money. Finally, what I have to say is about living overseas and its strains on relationships. It could be you have a boyfriend back home, you're a girl or woman who have traveled, or the other way around. Sometimes long-term relationships get affected as a result of the distance between you. So be prepared for issues like that. Married couple, as you know, divorce rate is high everywhere, but even higher abroad due to a lot of different circumstances. So people travel, you get overseas, things change. Maybe the women don't want to be controlled like they used to be controlled back home. The man maybe has been the boss and earning a lot, and unfortunately they get here. Maybe they are not earning as much as the woman, and some people don't like those. They don't feel they are the men anymore. So a lot of things happen, and some of these things, it's very easy to, become fed up. Sometimes people don't have time for each other because this one is working, they don't see each other. There were situations where I'm fully aware of situations where the men have gone, that's experience from somebody has spoken to me or I've heard gossiping. The man has been going home and goes and finds somebody else back home. So when he says to the wife, oh, I'm going on holiday, I'm going home, I'll come back in 2 weeks, they go and they are living with another woman. There were situations where actually the men went and had children with other people, and the women here were not aware until they've heard it. So a lot of stories with boyfriend, girlfriends as well. I've had situations whereby maybe a man has sponsored his girlfriend, paid for Oski or travel and CBT and all those things. They get here and they said, you know what, I don't think you're the one I wanted, and they move on. There are situations where there are a lot of very, very unhappy marriages in this country. So look after yourselves, support yourselves, do as much as you can to make things work. If it's not working, then what can you do about it? If you are a wife beater or you are a husband beater, please, before you even get here, you better stop it. Otherwise, if you come, you're shouting at your wife, you're fighting, your next door neighbor will be calling the police. Or your wife could call the police on you, or the man would call the police on the wife, and it becomes a police case. You can, if you beat each other or one beats the other, you can get a criminal record, or let's say caution for domestic abuse. And if you're a healthcare professional, that is not good for you. So I hope these 20 tips or lessons that I have learned over the 20 years that I have been in the UK, I hope you have found something beneficial out of it. So look after yourselves, enjoy your life, work hard, do not work too much, and I wish you all the best. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. And bye-bye.